I'm about to tell you about. I have some notes that so the movie I Still Believe is based off of a memoir that Jeremy Camp wrote about a relationship that he had as a young adult. And it's brave. Anyway, so he sees this girl, Melissa, and is basically instantly in love with her. And then they have some more interactions randomly. They end up secretly dating because she didn't want to tell people. And they're dating for a little bit. It seemed like just a little bit thinking, oh, please don't die, because it's just so sad to think about the heartbreak that comes along with someone's death. Like, from my perspective, having it be a spouse, like, I don't want anyone to feel that. Like, it's horrible. Like, it's the worst thing I've ever been through, and I don't know. It sucks to imagine somebody else going through that, because I don't want people to go through that. It's the same with, like, losing a child, or a parent, or a sibling, or whoever else, like, that you lose. Like, it's horrible. And so the whole time I was nervous that was going to happen to her, and then she's healed. So thank God, I felt so relieved. I was like, oh, this is a happy movie. And so they get married on the beach, and then everything's great. They're so in love. They go on their honeymoon. They're having a great time. And then she felt like something was wrong. And so they went back to see her doctor, and they were told that she had like weeks to live. They were stopping treatment. There would be no more treatment. There was nothing that they could do, and that she basically just had to wait to die. So we go from this high of having a miracle. So we go from this absolute high of having this miracle of Melissa being healed to like 6 months or so. I might be guessing on that later, but I think it was 6 months or so later, being told that the cancer came back and she basically just had to wait to die. So then I realized I was right, this is a sad movie. And there's a scene where Jeremy and Melissa go on stage. He brings her on stage. I don't remember why. Nobody else is there. There's nobody in the audience. It's just them. And he says that, so she's really into astronomy, like looking at the stars, and she calls them God's painting. And so he tells her that she is a star, and she says, do you know the stars that shine the brightest are the stars with the shortest lives? And then she tells him that I don't know if she says if or when she dies, that she wants him to find somebody else. And the whole time he's thinking, no, you're going to be healed again. So he's not really accepting anything that she says. So yeah, my husband and I also had conversations about what we would do, or what we wanted the other one to do if we were to die. But we were never in a situation like theirs. Like my husband's death was unexpected, So our conversations about that were a little bit more funny, but didn't go that way. Like, they're so funny to me to think about, but I feel like people might judge art, so I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna tell you, but it's so funny to me to think about, like, us talking about that. Anyway, so then she gets very but it felt like a miracle. And then, like, I don't know, like then he passed, and then I was thinking about my husband, and this isn't quite the same, but so a couple months before my husband's accident, he had my car, which is not the car I have now. I had a Mazda, and he was driving on the interstate with my car, and a tractor trailer pulled over into his lane, and he had to swerve off the road, but the tractor trailer hit the car, and he said that it hit, and he, like, his light flashed before his eyes. He thought he was dead. Like, he was like, this is it. I just got hit by a tractor trailer in this little Mazda. It's a Mazda 3. And I guess he opened his eyes, and the tractor trailer hit the mirror on my car. Like, it didn't. And he was just so shocked. He was like, how did this happen? It's like, I thought I was going to die. Like, it literally just hit the mirror. Not even the side of my car, but he said it was so loud. Like, he thought it was a bad accident. Like, he thought he was in an accident, and he wasn't. And I, like, it shook him up a lot, because he really, like, the way it turned out in his mind was very crazy. I wasn't there. I just know how he felt about it. And then a couple months later, he's in an accident, on a motorcycle, not a car. And again, basically somebody did something they weren't supposed to do, and he was in an accident, and he died. I remember when the first accident happened, I was like, wow, this is just, another miracle for you. Like, God's always looking out for you. But then, again, someone isn't paying attention, and this time you die. So have you, in those two, just because they're so recent, really stood out to me when I was watching this movie? Do you have any stories like that? You don't have to share, because I know that can be hard, but I never thought about that really before, or like noticed that would happen, or I don't know, maybe that's not a trend, that's not a thing, and I'm looking too much into it. I need water. So, okay, I wrote down a couple quotes, and that from the movie that I thought were really good that I would read to you. So, the first one is by Melissa, and she says,